Hi everyone, Ryan here from Fight Game Analysis, and today we're going to be talking about the upcoming fight between Gennadiy Golovkin and Ryota Murata. Before we jump into that, if you enjoy the content, please go ahead and click on the like button and also subscribe to the channel. Really appreciate your support. Alright, April 9th, we've got the fight coming up between Gennadiy Golovkin and Ryota Murata. Now look, this isn't the big fight that we've been hearing about attached to Triple G's name recently. Right, the big fight that we've been hearing attached to Triple G's name recently is going to be in the future. He gets through this one, he's got the fight with Canelo, right? Provided Canelo gets through the fight with IBO, but people are assuming those things to happen. Sign the 2-fight contract. We've got the fight with Triple G and Canelo planned for later in the year, right? The rubber match that everybody's been waiting for, that Triple G's been clamoring for all these years. All he has to do is get through Murata. Now, a lot of people expect that to happen, obviously. We look at it, he comes into this one, he's got crazy odds. He's like 6-1, 6.5-1 favorite. Murata is just not a big name. He's not somebody that casual fans are associated with or know. He's not somebody even that a lot of hardcore fans know. He's just not one of those big name guys. He's fought the vast majority of his fights over in Japan. So not a lot of people outside of that country know him. Now that being said, he knows how to fight. He is a talented fighter. Okay, he had a pretty accomplished amateur career, and then since he's been in the pros, he's really done nothing but win for the most part. Now, don't get me wrong, he's got 2 losses on his record, but in impressive fashion, loses both fights, the 2 losses that he has, losing both by decision, comes back in immediate rematches, stops the opponent. Right? Kind of a way to say, he may have got lucky, I may have had an off night, he got the decision victory on me, but when it really counted and when it was really focused, I came in and I stopped this guy. So, impressive in that regard. Impressive, right? Now, when you look at his style, break down the film on him a little bit, not very nuanced. Not a lot of tricks to his game. He likes to put his guard up and come forward and throw punches. Right? Like, that's pretty much it. Doesn't use a lot of feints. He'll work behind the jab, but it's not, he doesn't switch the jab up. He doesn't change up the speed. He doesn't change up the angles. He doesn't change up the rhythm at which he delivers it. Comes in and it's just this thudding jab. He's got some decent power, it seems like. That being said, even though he's got a high knockout ratio, it hasn't exactly been against world-class competition, right? So that's one of the things that you always got to keep in mind when you look at somebody. It's, look at the punch accuracy, look at the connect rate, look at all the jabs they can land, look at the knockout percentage. You have to look at the caliber of opponent. Do you think that Murata would still have that same level of knockouts if he was fighting Triple G's level of opponents? Right? Those are the kind of questions that you got to ask yourself when you're comparing these people and when you're trying to think about what it really means. One of the analogies that I always use is, what if I told you my record was 1,000-0? 1,000 wins and 0 losses. And oh, by the way, it's 1,000 knockouts. You'd be like, oh my God, that is the most impressive record I've ever heard of in my life. But then you found out I was fighting nothing but 5th graders. Is it still impressive? Does it still matter? Am I still the man? Am I still the greatest to ever do it? Right? But seriously though, right? Seriously, it's something we need to think about when you look at his level of competition. So he comes forward, like I said, doesn't really work angles, not a lot of nuances. Footwork isn't great. He just puts his hands up, man, and he comes forward and he throws a lot of punches. He'll work combinations. If you allow him to come forward and constantly be in range, he's going to be busy. He'll be an active fighter. The punches are going to be hard and they'll have some sting on him. He's not easily discouraged, doesn't go away. So he's got some things going for him. But we're not talking about if he has some things going for him. We're not talking about what he's done in the past. Right? Really, we're thinking about what he's done in the past and how that's going to translate to what he's going to be able to do April 9th against Triple G. I get it. It's in his hometown, but still. It's over in Japan. Triple G decided to make the flight. But still, what's he going to do when Triple G steps in there? Right now, you think about Triple G. Now, when I think of man, I'm always going to think of him when he was in his prime. I'm always going to think of him was when he was just an absolute terror. Okay, I remember back in the day before he ever even came over here and fought, Dougie Fisher, all right, editor for Ring Magazine, used to always talk about this guy. He used to talk about the beast from the East. Gennadiy Golovkin, he's people haven't heard of him. This dude is just an absolute monster. He's got like mythology attached to him. Right? At that point, people hadn't seen him. You were talking about like mid-2000s and you didn't have footage on him. Some of the footage that you did have, it was like this old grainy video, which kind of just added to the legend even more, just made him like this epic character. But then he comes over here and he delivers, man. He absolutely delivers. He starts storming through the middleweight division and does it in devastating fashion. You think about back when he was fighting like Marco Antonio Rubio, Willie Monroe, Danny Jacobs, the first Canelo fight, David Lemieux, back when he was just running through guys, man. Martin Murray, he was out there just putting it on people, nasty left hooks to the body, catching people with right hands and putting them down, just working people with the consistent pressure behind that telephone pole of a jab. Right? Like, people just didn't have an answer for it. Here was a man who was highly skilled, threw combinations well, had incredible power. It was difficult for people to deal with him. And even though he was coming out here and he was running through guys, we're starting to get some film on him, starting to get down some footage, people still didn't know how to handle it. So then he gets the draw and the loss to Canelo, comes out, turns in a rough performance against Derevyanchenko. Right? I don't know how else to say it. That's not the Triple G that we had all come to know and love. A lot of his shots looked forced and labored. He looked like he got tired. He was following Derevyanchenko around the time versus being aggressive and cutting the ring off. His shots didn't seem like they had pop on him. He was off balance at times. Like, just not good. Not good, right? You think about it, when you look at a guy and he starts to get older, you got to wonder, was it an off night or was it age? Is this how he's going to look from now on? Or is he going to pick it back up and we're going to look and just say, that was a blip on the radar? Okay, but he's getting up there in age now. Going into this one, he's going to be 39 years old. A lot of fights, a lot of amateur fights, a lot of professional fights. So not only is he 39 years old, but there's a lot of wear and tear on him as well. Right? And as the great trainer Teddy Atlas always says, a fighter's age isn't determined by his birth certificate. A fighter's age is determined by the amount of wear and tear, by the amount of punishment he's taken, by the amount of punches he's absorbed. Triple G's absorbed a lot. That's what happens over the course of a career. Now, all that being said, the question is, what's it going to look like when these two step in the ring with each other on Saturday night? Look, Triple G's a big favorite going into this one. Like I said, 6-1, 6.5-1, depending on where you look. Very overwhelming odds. Everybody expects him to come out with the victory. I do too. No difference here. When it's all said and done, I expect Triple G to come out with the win. Okay? When he came out there in his last fight, he looked a little bit better than we had seen him versus Derevyanchenko. Looked a little bit more like the Triple G that we had come to know. But he's still a step down from where he was. He still doesn't have the hand speed that he used to. He still doesn't have the footwork that he used to. Feet aren't quite as quick. Doesn't quite cut off angles quite the same. Follows his guy around a little bit more. There were times when we saw him against Size Meta. I know I'm murdering that last name, but it was in his last fight against his last opponent. There were times in there where we actually saw that dude push him back a little bit, right? Especially early in the fight. Not anything super crazy or aggressive, but backing up Triple G. We only saw one guy do that in the past. That was Canelo. Now you've got no-namers doing it. Even if doing it for only portions of the fight. So he's not the fighter he was. Still expect him to come out with the win. And the reason for that is, it's pretty straightforward. And I just don't think Murata has the defense to be able to deal with it. He doesn't have the footwork. He doesn't have the head movement. He's not great necessarily at parrying shots. He keeps his arms up. He's got his elbows tucked in, so he'll definitely catch some shots here and there. Triple G's great at landing that left hook behind the guy's right elbow, though, and just digging it in there. Hits the rib cage, hits the liver. Doesn't really matter, man. Dude's going to throw it with such force that you're going to feel it. Right? Once you start to bring those hands down a little bit, he's going to start going upstairs and landing hard shots there. Power's the last thing to go. Man, Triple G's going to be 50 years old. He's still going to be punching like a donkey. Okay? So I don't really worry about that. You get a guy who doesn't move his feet, a guy who doesn't work angles, a guy who's going to be right there in front of you. Triple G's always going to be able to beat those guys. He may absorb more shots than he used to. May take a little bit longer than he used to. Was known for landing that jab. Just that telephone pole jab, landing like 9 or 10 around. Maybe doesn't quite land that many anymore. Maybe now they get picked off and parried and blocked a little bit more than they used to. Little things like that is where you'll see the age start to catch up, even though he's fighting a stationary opponent. But I'll tell you right now, a stationary opponent is always going to be the easiest type of opponent for a puncher like Triple G. So I think he's going to come away with the victory in this one. I think he doesn't look quite as impressive as he has in some of his past fights. He's already signed on the dotted line for Canelo, so I think that fight's signed, sealed, and delivered anyways. We'll see him later in the year there. Maybe he's not quite worried about looking so impressive in this one because he's already got that one. Doesn't matter. I think he's getting up there in age, and we've seen the best of him. He's on the decline, right? He's on the downside of his career now. Father Time's undefeated. So as much as I want to say that he's going to come out and just blow the doors off and be the Triple G that we've all known in the past, really don't see that happening. Let me know what you guys think. Do you kind of see this the same way? Is he going to have a rejuvenation? Is he going to look good in this one? And then he's going to have that one last great fight against Canelo later in the year. Let me know what you guys think.